So variables and comments. Now, what is a variable, right? So see, when I'm writing a program, usually you would have seen a program like this. Wait, let me open a new file. So when I'm writing a program, I've written some. See, generally when you work out maths problem also, what you'll do, you'll say x is equal. Your question will be like this, right? If x is equal to 4 and y is equal to 5, what is x into y? So like this, right? So you have seen maths questions which look like this. Same thing. Variables are nothing but they are containers. Like this x is equal to 4. 4 we know is a literal, right? It's the data. Now this x, the entity to which you are assigning this value is called a variable. All right. So it is like this container that is holding your data. Okay. So 4, what I'll do, I'll put it into x, and wherever I want to use it, I will use x. So it's like basically you put your whatever you want to eat inside your lunch box, and wherever you want to carry your food to, you'll carry the lunch box, right? So same thing. That's what a container will. That's what a variable will do. So what variable does is it will hold the value that you are asking it to hold, and it will give you that value whenever you are using the variable. Now, if I say, let me show you in ideally, okay? So what happens if I say x is equal to 4 and I say print x? So what x will do? Python will go, it will say, okay, print x. She's asking for some x. It will go and check if I have defined anything called x anywhere. Okay. So here I've defined x is equal to 4. So it will go, it will fetch the data inside x and will print it out to me. So do you understand what a variable is? It's basically a container. It's like a vessel holding your data. All right. So a variable is a container to store data. A variable has two parts, which is the variable name. Variable name is nothing but what we are assigning. X is a variable, so x is a variable name. All right. So it has a name and a value associated with it. All right. Now variable names in Python, there are some rules. Variable names, they will start only with letters or underscore. Okay. And they can contain letters, numbers, and underscore. They cannot contain anything else. For example, if I say X-Men, okay, or I say X-Men 302, these are valid variable names. Python will accept it as variable name. Same thing if I say X-Men at 302, it will say error because I've included this ampersand in the variable name. These are not allowed. Variable names can only contain letters, numbers, and underscore. The only special character which is allowed in a variable name is an underscore. All right. Next, the variable name should start only with letters or underscore. You cannot have a variable name like 23 X-Men. Okay. Because see, this variable name starts with a number. It's not allowed. A variable name can be like underscore X-Men, or it can be like X underscore men. Okay, so they should only start with an underscore or a letter. But after this, you can have like this. After underscore, I can have a number. That's not an issue. The first letter should be a alphabet or an underscore. All right. And like I already told you, Python is case sensitive. Now, for example, see, I'm saying we'll go to the IDE lesson. Now here, can you see the x that I have defined is small x. Now, if I say print capital X, it will say error. X is not defined. It's telling me, hey, you've not defined anything, any variable with capital X. So I cannot do anything with your capital X. All right. So case sensitivity means the casing, the uppercase or lowercase that you use, it is very important. All right. So variable names are case sensitive. Even if a single letter differs. Now, for example, if I say X-Men is 10, the same thing I say capital X-Men or even says capital M 20. Now when I print X-Men, it will give me 10. But when I print X with a capital M, it will give me 20. Okay, so can you see the difference? Even if a single letter differs in its case, it is a different variable. All right. Is everything clear till now about a variable to everybody? Any doubts, ma?
No, ma'am.
All right. So to recap, a variable is a container that stores data. Okay. It will have a variable name and a value associated with it. All right. The rules are it can have letters, numbers, and underscore. Only special character allowed in a variable name is underscore. And a variable name should start either with an underscore or with a letter, some letter. All right. And they are case sensitive. Then another important thing is now you've seen stuff. Now see this true. When I say print true, okay. Now this true is like it's called a keyword. What are keywords? Keywords in a language are those words which the language associates a special meaning to it. Now, for example, when I say true with a capital T, it means it's a Boolean value that Python understands as true. Okay. But the same thing, if I give true with a small t, this Python will not understand. All right. Because it is case sensitive. And this print, now this word print, this word true, then we have used and, right? I showed you print true and false. This word and all this, they are all called keywords because the language uses them to identify something. They are like only for exclusive use of the language. We cannot create variables that that are keywords. You understand? See, I cannot create a variable call and assign it to some. This will create a syntax error for me. See, if I say and is equal to 8, it will say syntax error because and is a word which Python is using. It will not allow anybody else to use it. But the same thing, if I give and with a capital A, it will have no issues because it is case sensitive. And capital A and is different from small a and. Okay. So all of these words which Python is reserved for its use alone, those are called keywords. And keywords cannot be used as variables. Okay, so these are the rules. Main three rules. It should contain alphabet, numbers, and underscore only. It should only start with alphabet or underscore. And keywords cannot be used as variable names, but you can change the casing and use it. Okay. Usually, we'll recommend not to use a keyword as variable name to avoid confusion. All right. And like I said, it's case sensitive. Then variable names, it's just general guidelines, okay, to create variable names. There's no hard and fast rule. Now, when you have variable name, for example, I say my list, okay, my list will contain some 5 numbers. Say, okay. Now, can you see this my list is a variable? I have 2 words in it, my and list. Now to differentiate this, I cannot give a variable name with a space, right? I told you variable can only contain an underscore. It cannot contain any other special characters. So there are 3 ways I can write this my list. One is, so when I write like this, you are able to see, right? There are 2 words. You're able to identify, oh, there is a my and a list in it. Either this format you'll use, or you start with small letter, but when the second word comes, you use a capital letter to differentiate it, or use an underscore, my underscore list. So see, these 3 representations tell you that there are 2 words in the variable. This is called Pascal case, where every word will begin with a capital letter. Okay, when every word begins with a capital letter in a variable, it's called Pascal case. And when every word begins with a capital letter except for the first word, the first word will begin with a small letter, and rest of the words, my list here. So all of these words will begin with capital letter. This is called camel case. Okay. And when you use underscores to differentiate between words, it's called snake case. It looks like a snake, right? Basically, when you go something like this, it looks like a snake. So they were called snake case. All right. Is this clear, ma? It is just for your information, just to know that there are various casing in Python, the preferred casing is snake case. All right, because the people who created Python, they have written a set of rules which they say is good to follow when you're writing Python code. All right. Basically, like how your variable name should look, like that, how your comments should look. They have created a set of guidelines for us. So in their guideline, what they are preferring is the snake case. You differentiate the words in a variable name with an underscore. All right. Are variables clear to everybody? See, this don't concern yourself too much with this. This is just for your information. In Python, snake case is preferred. That's all. Is everything clear? Any doubts, ma?
No, ma'am.
No,
Okay,
ma'am.
so okay, so this is all about variables. All right. Now, when you want to create a variable in Python, see, in some other languages, if at all you know C or Java, they'll declare like this. First, they'll tell you the type of the data that will be stored in the variable. They'll give the variable name, and then they'll assign a value. Okay, like this they'll give. But in Python, what it will do, if you just say like this, what Python will do, it will see, okay, this is a letter. It's not included inside any quotes. So it's definitely not a string literal. So what it will do, it will take it as a variable name. Then it is followed by a comma, an equal to, and then there is a literal value. So what it will do, it will create the variable automatically. Okay. And you don't have to tell Python what type of data you're storing in the variable. It will infer the data type from the data you give itself. So it look at the data. This is 54. Okay. So the rules that satisfy for 54 are integer data. So it will automatically store 54 into variable A. And if you say, I'll show this to you. If you ask for the type of A, it will automatically tell you it is an integer. Now X we have created, right? Now when I say print type of X-Men, see, it will automatically tell me it is an int. You didn't tell Python that you stored int in X-Men, but it will go look into the data present in X-Men, and it will automatically infer the data and it will give you the answer. Okay. This is called dynamic typing, guys. There's a term for this. This is called dynamic typing. Dynamic typing means you don't specify the data type. The programmer doesn't have to tell the computer, or rather the interpreter, that this is the data type that I'm storing in this variable. The interpreter will automatically read the data and it will automatically learn on its own the kind of data type it is. All right, that's called dynamic typing. Is this clear to everybody? In Python, you don't have any specific statements to create a variable. When you just assign some value to a variable, it is automatically created then and there. All right. And another thing is, see, now I have given A is equal to 54 here. The same thing, if I do, now I'll show it here. Wait. So you all remember X-Men, right? X-Men had value 20. Can you see here? 20. So I've stored a integer here. Now, for example, if I do something like this, I'm storing a string X-Men. All right. Now, if I print the type, what will it give me? Will it give me an error or what, guys? Can anybody say?
String.
It will give string or it will not give an error. Correct. Because what I told you, Python will not assume anything. Only when you refer the variable, what it will do, it will go look into the variable. It will see the type of data stored in it. And then it will give you, it will start working based on that data type. All right. So this will give me a string. So the same variable name, you can use it to store different type of data at different times. No issues. You can reuse the variable name and you don't have to specify the type of the data that you store in the variable. The Python interpreter will infer it on its own. Okay. This is called dynamic typing. All right. This property is called dynamic typing. We are not specifying the data type and we can assign different kinds of data to the same variable name at various points of time. Whichever is the most recent assignment, that will be taken. Now, for example, if I say x is equal to 5 and then I say x is equal to hello. So when I say print type, what it will do, it will look at the most recent assignment, which is hello, right? So it'll return, it will take that value to return that value type only. All right. Is this clear to everybody? Any doubts in variables? Okay. So another thing you have to know, I told you to create a variable, you don't have to specify the type or declare anything. But if I do something like this, print, for example, see here, I'll use it. Now, what Python is telling me, name is not defined because I have not assigned any value to A so far, right? So, what it would have done, it would have gone to the print statement, it would have taken A. Now, it will try to search whether we have assigned any value to A anywhere, which we have not done. So, the variable would obviously not be created, right? So, A is non existent. What I'm trying to say using this statement is you cannot use a variable name unless you create it first. And to create a variable first, you'll have to assign it some value. Okay. So only after you assign a value to a variable, you will be able to use it later on. Now, if I give print, it will give me output with no issues. You understand this? You cannot create a variable, you cannot use a variable without assigning a value to it first, because only assigning a value will create that variable in Python. Okay. Shall we move on to the next topic? Is this clear to everybody? Variables? Any doubt, ma? Yes, ma?
No, ma'am.
No doubts. Okay. So we'll move to the next topic then. What, did somebody ask something? There was somebody.
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So next we have comments. Now, when I say comments, see, in general English also, say I'm writing an essay, okay, and then I send it over to my teacher saying, ma'am, can you please give some comments about it, about this essay or something like that. So what I'm trying to ask your teacher is, can you tell me something about this essay which you want to convey to me, right? So comments are basically same way used to convey something to some other person. Now, for example, say I'm writing a very long program. I'm using something like where is equal to 10, where 2 is equal, I'm sorry, there should be no space, where 2 is equal to 20, like that. And then I'm writing so many lines of code in between, and then I'm just saying result is equal to where plus where 2. I'm writing this program, I keep on writing, okay. Now, when somebody else is going to come and take over your work, okay, if they are, or if you're on leave on some day and somebody else is supposed to work for you, they will not know what you're storing in where, what you're storing in where to, why you're doing this, why you're calculating this result, right? If they have to understand, they have to sit and go through your whole code, right? So to avoid all of these inconveniences, we have something called a comment. So what I can do, a comment will start with a hashtag, all right? So a hash, I say, this is first number from the list, or from denoting user admission number, something like that. Okay. Then I'll say this is number denoting a user phone number or whatever. Okay, so when somebody goes through your code like this, no, they'll know, okay, fine. So where to is supposed to store your phone number, where is supposed to store your admission number. And then when you do the whatever processing you do, they'll understand, oh, okay. So using admission number, they are trying to calculate this. Using phone number, they are trying to calculate. It is easier for them to understand your program. So that is the basic aim of having comments. All right. So if you want to convey something about your code, why this is there, why I'm calculating this result. For example, I can say use this result in function in line 20 or whatever. This is just for an example, okay? So I'm telling the person, basically, the person doesn't have to sit and think about the purpose of everything. Everything is put out to them, right? So it is easy for them to understand your program. So there's a main a purpose of using a comment. Another thing is, now say I've given this result is equal to where plus where 2. Okay. Now I don't want Python to execute this for now. For example, see, when we are in real world projects, one person will write one piece of code. Okay, another person will be asked to write another piece of code, and then what third person will do? They will combine both the pieces of code, and then they'll create one new code. Okay, so when some things like this are going on, say person two went on leave. Okay, but person three, he has to finish his work. So what he will do? He will include person one's work inside his code. He will hash it out the person two's work. The thing is, he's reserving it, and then he's doing his work. Okay. Now, when the person two comes back, he can remove this comment. If he comments this, what Python will do? It will process the file. Whenever it comes across this hashtag, it will know that it is a comment, and what it will do? It will not process that statement. It will simply ignore it and go on to the next whatever comes next to the comment or next statement. So when I hash out code, what Python will do, it will see the first code, then it will see the second code, it will see it is hashed out. So it will just ignore it, and then it will go to the third statement. So this so comments can be used to ignore some part of code for some period of time if you want to. To tell it clearly, now say I've used where 20, okay, and then I've used where 2 is 10. I'm saying print where, and I'm doing print where 2. Okay, now if we run this code, if we run this code, it will print both where and sorry, it will print value of where 2 and where 2 and where. Now same thing, if I go on and if I comment this out, what will happen? Python will come to my code. Okay. So first statement will see where is equal to 20. Okay. So it will create a variable called where. It will assign a value 20. It will come to the next line. It will see a hashtag. So hashtag means it's a comment. Comment means Python has to ignore it. So it will just come to the next statement. It will not process this statement. Okay. Then it will come to print where. It will print where. But when it comes to print where to, what will happen? Where to is not defined yet, right? So it's commented out. It just skip the comment, skip this particular statement. So here you'll get an error. This is just to show how comments can be used in your code. So can you see? It printed where for me, but where to, when I said print, it is saying where to is not defined. Though that code is there in my file, since I've commented it out, Python has ignored that line. Okay, so this will be used in programming where you want to come. You're say you're just developing this particular. For example, you're using a function. We have something called a function. We will come to that later. Say you're using something like this get number of x, but this get number function you have not developed yet. So in such cases, we'll use it so that when later point of time you can just uncomment it and you can continue with your code so you don't forget anything. The crux of this is what you have to take is anything that is followed by a hashtag will be ignored by Python and is called a comment. All right, is this clear? Any confusions, any doubts? All clear? Okay. And what they have told is that the shortcut, you just select everything, and if you do a control and a forward slash, it will comment out the entire selection. So that's what they meant. For example, control and front slash, it's supposed to insert. It's not inserting for me. I don't know. It's supposed to be a shortcut. All this is not necessary, ma. It's just syntactic sugar. So what a comment is? Comment is any line which starts with a hashtag. It can even come in between. Like for example, see, I'm doing something print where hash this. See, even if you do this, can you see it's all in red? This is being taken as comment only. Okay, this will give me a syntax error when I run this. See, can you see? It is saying you have not closed the opening braces for print statement. Why? Because it has been commented out. Okay, so wherever you can put your hashtag wherever you want, but wherever you put it, anything that follows that hashtag will be taken as a comment. So it will not be